Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, joined by my good friend, fantastic designer, Brandon Groce. What's going on, Brandon?
Nothing much, my man. I am just feeling good. Happy to be here, nice and snuggly in my beanie and V-neck sweater.
Absolutely.
How about yourself?
I'm excited to be here with you. First time streaming on Adobe Live, right?
Yep, definitely. And we're going to have to put a very good impression on everybody watching today. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So big hello to everyone joining us live on Behance. We've got Vipin and Erica and Esoft and Raphael and Wade and Vipin and Voodoo Val and Julia. A lot of awesome people, some regulars, some brand new people. If you are tuning in live, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. Hopefully this is the first time I'm streaming with somebody else remotely, so if the audio sounds a little bit off or if the video looks a little bit off, let me know. I'm going to be paying attention to the chat, and we're going to have a good time today. So I'm going to hand it over to Brandon for a few minutes and talk about it yourself, what you do, what you're going to be doing today, and whatever else you want to talk about.
For sure. So guys, well, first off, as you guys know, my name is Brandon Groce. I'm a designer and digital strategist for Fortune 500s, but I'm now moving into being more so of a content creator. I'm super excited to be here today with you and Pinsky to really just go down and just prototype some of the hottest things that I've seen here on the internet. If you guys do not know me, I am a design hype beast. I curate some of the top designers on the internet on my Instagram feed. You guys can find me at Brandon Groce. The O's are zeros. But I just, every day, I look to see who are the top designers in the world, what's trending, what's not. And, I help designers recreate some of the coolest things that are out there today. So I'm super excited about doing that here with you guys today live. So today, we're going to be going through what I have on my screen right now. I'm not sure if that's out right now, but we have two specific designs. One, because I'm a hype beast, I want to do something related to shoes, and also something that is very complex that's related to milk.
Milk, and shoes and milk. It's a good combination.
Very two similar things, depending on how you want to think about it.
Of course. So we are looking at your screen right now. So if you want to kind of talk about what we're going to be doing, we've also got someone from Ghana and a lot of people who are big fans of what you do, Brandon, which is great. Nancy from Indiana, and we've got, who else we have? Renata from Poland. A lot of people from all over the world, Texas and London and Denver, India. Woo! And what's cool about people like all the way from India is it's like 2 a.m. right now for over there, which is great.
That's
They're all
insane.
Sitting up and just like watching us at 2 a.m. It's fantastic. If
That's
anyone does
hustle.
have questions for Brandon throughout this stream, we're going to be here for the next 2 hours. So throw them in the chat. I will ask Brandon all those questions, the appropriate ones at least, or maybe, I don't know, Brandon, whatever you're open to. And about half an hour before this stream ends, we're going to be doing portfolio reviews. So go ahead and hit that portfolio review tab at the top right. It's right above me up there. And submit your portfolio, and we're going to take a look at them in about an hour and a half.
Cool. All right, so now that we're looking at my screen, obviously this is the shoe design that we're going to be doing first, and depending on how much time we have, we'll be getting into this super awesome cow design thing as well. And just granted, because I am a design beast and we have to give credit to those who we get inspired by, this is my man Anton. I still don't know how to say your last name, my man, but he does amazing work for UI 8 as well, prototypes, UI kits, and all that good stuff. So Anton, beautiful stuff.
Indeed.
And we have Daniel's triple N's, Daniel. He's also a good online friend of mine as well. He's also a design beast curator over here on Instagram, but I love his work personally. So with that, any further ado, let's get into Adobe XD and let's touch up on this Yeezy and Chanel kicks.
Let's do it. I'm excited about this because if anyone out there watches my streams or watches my videos, you know I'm huge into prototyping and animation and really pushing XD to its limits. And I've tried to break XD before. I may have succeeded at some point, but like on my, I think Brandon, you have probably featured some of my stuff on your Instagram account. I think that's how
definitely.
I found you. You tagged me in something that you featured from me. And I just try as much as I can to really push it and do things that XD not necessarily wasn't built to do, but just to have fun with it. And I think that's what we're going to see from you today. It's going to be fun.
Exactly. I picked a very simplistic one, and then one that is, really, I tried doing a couple things to break it a little bit. And, depending on how much time we have here, we'll get into some really, really deep details.
Yeah, and I
So
think
go ahead. Now, I was just about to say that, just as we're getting into this, I already have a lot of pre-built components here, but I do know a lot of people here are going to be like, well, how did you make that? And we'll discuss how exactly they're made, because there's a lot of details to these things. But just for the sake of time, did make a lot of components.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And one thing I also love about these streams is that XD has a lot of prototyping capabilities right now, but of course the team is always looking at what the next thing is. Where they're going to take components and states, what other prototyping features are they going to add, and they're able to watch these streams in addition to many of the user voice comments or case studies that they've spoken to people with, and they can kind of see exactly what the pain points are, what's necessary in future updates. And we have a lot of cool stuff coming, not just in the months to come, but also in the years to come. So I think these streams will definitely help figure out what they're going to work on next.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually a really cool thing to hear, that everybody's really on top of seeing how people use the platform. That's just excellent. So really what we're doing here, and guys, I really do, and I'm sure Pinsky says this all the time, like, components save lives. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I know this menu could be really made super easy if you wanted to like drag out a circle and then make sure that it's black border. And to be honest, how I made this was super simple. I really love the repeat grid, pulling it out 3 here, 3 to the bottom, and just making sure that I ungroup this. And actually, I lied, fixing this first. But the stuff in here,
the grid. Come on, Brandon.
I always ungroup the grid because sometimes I like to do my own little thing for it. But
that's true. Jesse Showalter is in the house. Welcome, Jesse.
What's poppin', Jesse? How we feeling, my good sir? But yes, let's get back to my delicious shoes. So we're gonna go ahead and actually change the background here real quick of my
So I
design.
see you're using a layout grid. Talk about that. What's the reasoning behind using grids and guides and that sort of thing when you're designing websites or mobile apps?
They just keep everything aligned. I feel like a lot of people get really complex with their grids, but to be honest, it just helps me keep straight lines. And especially with this, like, as you guys can see, like, this isn't a one-to-one thing. I have to like make sure that all my elements that I have on here, they make sure that I'm building my own rules and everything lines up.
Yeah.
So that just keeps me organized. And granted, when everything gets brought into to a web developer, websites are built in grids, in columns of 12, 6, and 4. So it helps the developer as well if they know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm gonna pull in some of my arrow components
saying
here.
Grids is a lifesaver. I agree.
It really is.
And you forgot the boop. Vipin pointed out you forgot the boop. Whenever you press repeat grid, you have to boop. It's the law.
Next time.
Okay. I'll give you a pass.
All right. So I'm just gonna ask the chat real quick. Are there any other booping requirements in XD, just so I know, so we can all be in this together?
That's a good question. And while the chat's waiting to get that video information, there's a little bit of a delay. Talk about yourself a little bit. I know you introduced yourself earlier, but I'd love to hear what your background is, how you got into design, what your plans are for the future. Just spill the beans.
Ooh, that's a lot of beans, man. I mean,
we have an hour and a half, so go for it.
All right, well, let's get into it. So how I got to be a designer. So it was not a straight shot. At first, to be honest, it really is not. I wanted to be a tattoo artist, and I realized that, I didn't want any tattoos, so that wasn't going to happen. And
complicating.
Yeah, I was a really good ink artist, and to be honest, I didn't know what exactly to do with my career. I really didn't want to go to college because, granted, our age group, we had YouTube, so everything was YouTube. My parents were like, Brandon, why, you need to go to school. And I was like, but YouTube, mom and dad, I can learn everything from there. So a lot of people don't know this, but I actually had to leave home because I did not go to college. And what that ended up leaving me is I had to move in with some friends who were actually web developers and salespeople. So my journey to UI UX was started as, graphic designer in high school. I was learning through YouTube, and because I was a martial artist, I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've trained for over 12 years.
So note to anybody in the chat, don't piss off Brandon.
No, hey, I'm the first one to run. I carry pepper spray everywhere. That's what you learn in martial arts. It's either because people, there's a lot of dangers out here in the world, and you really have to, engaging is not the first thing we want to do. All right, so I'm going to make my border really quick, but spiraling out of that. So a lot of people ask me, I do mentor a lot of other designers as well, and they're like, well, how exactly did you get into going from leaving your parents' house to doing what you're doing today and working with the brands that you have? Tell me about that. And so what I tell them is I actually moved, and if Jesse's still in the chat, I know he's in Texas. I think he's in Houston. But I actually moved from Washington, D.C. To work in Dallas, Texas for a bodybuilding corporation. They're huge down in Texas, and it was one of our largest clients. Obviously, I was working for startups from the age of 18 to 20. Okay. Just, by the seat of my pants, just learning design and working odd jobs, so to speak. And, I finally got I guess my big break was that Dallas gig. And that was a very big portfolio piece for me. In the first, we had to create everything from design, UI, UX. It wasn't even called that then, but their website, their sales funnel, their marketing strategy. From soup to nuts, everything. Yeah. And in their first 6 months, actually, I think it was the first 6 months, we were able to start them up and get them $2.5 million in 6 months' time.
That's not bad.
And it was not bad, especially I think I was 20 at the time. I was eating sleeping on the floor, eating peanut butter and jelly and salmon.
I hope you got a percentage of that.
I actually didn't, man. That's the thing. Because around this age, I really didn't know anything. It was very, very, very rough. Depending on how many beans we really want to talk about, but it was very rough. And I ended up moving back home because I still really didn't have anything to my name. But from that, I had a very good portfolio piece. That was the very big thing that came out of that. And I started, trying to find jobs in Washington, D.C. And because of that very large portfolio piece, I got my first amazing agency job over at HZDG.
Okay.
Where I got to work for Disney, Dannon, LG, Salesforce, CES. It was just a really amazing experience. But yeah, it's long-winded, but I do want to talk about this component here really quick.
I was about to say, go back a little bit, and it
yeah,
looks like you're
that was
zooming along here. Talk a little bit about what's going on, because I think we missed quite a bit.
Yeah, we did. All right, guys, so let's break this down really quick, because I did want to just pull everything up. This is pretty simple. Like I mentioned, this is the logo. The menu was super simple. Search bar, this profile picture was super simple, but let's talk about these components here really quick.
Sure.
So we'll talk about our buttons, our buy button. We'll talk about our components here for a second, but let's talk about this big one.
Oh, and after you do that, I want to talk about what Jesse's referring to, how it's possible to work hard and make it happen without a fancy degree. And we're going to get to that, but go ahead and talk about these components and the states and all this fun stuff.
All right, cool. So I'm just going to break this apart really quickly. So I'm going to ungroup this. And again. All right. So let's talk about this. So this component is built out of a couple pieces. 1, 2, 3 main. All right, 4 pieces. So what I'm looking to accomplish with this, as you guys can see, I'm just going to show it one more time. On hover, you see the shopping bag go down, and you see the Nike, or what is this, Yeezy? Excuse me, Yeezy. I apologize. Forgive me, Kanye.
He's totally watching.
It's probably on top of a table right now. We have the shoe going up. So this is what we do. So what this is, why this is here in the first place is I want to use it as a mask. So I'm just going to copy, paste, make sure that that paste goes on top of that square. And I'm just going to select all these elements here. I'm going to hit Command Shift M, make sure that I get everything masked. Now you guys will see all of that was within this mask.
Sure.
Cool.
Great.
All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair these two things together. I'm just going to select, hit Command K. Now we have our component. So there's no hover state or anything on this right yet, but we're going to go ahead, hit the plus hover state. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and click in, actually making sure that we're on our hover state.
And I think it's good to point out that when you created a new hover state, there was a little lightning icon beside of it to the right. And that lets you know that it's going to automatically be wired up for prototyping. So if you go ahead and delete that hover state, if you go back one step, press the plus button, and then you see the little lightning icon. Yeah, so that means you don't have to go into prototype mode. You don't have to wire it up. It's automatically wired up with auto animate. So any animation or any changes you make, XD will automatically animate those when the prototype is viewed.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to make sure that we click on that, because what we want to do now is we have our default state. We have this. We want to make sure that when we basically hover over it, we get our next state, and that next state is this. Heel up, gray shopping bag.
Yep.
All right. So make sure we have that selected. We're going to click into our mask here. All we're going to do is we're going to select all of our elements here. We're going to drag this baby down so that we have our gray and white bag. Next thing, we're going to click over to the shoe. All we're going to do, super simple, is we're going to rotate this up just a little bit and up. We're going to put that heel up just a little bit more because we're fancy out here.
Of course, we are fancy.
Yeah, we got to really step up on that heel. So all we'll see now is actually, let me go back because it has to be in the artboard for y'all to see this. There we go. We dancing out here. All right, guys. This is a little bit more subtle, but you put some heel toe in that, like we're wrestling out here.
Of course, if you did want to adjust that hover effect, you can always go into prototype mode, slow it down, speed it up, change the easing options, whatever it might be. But let's go ahead and, now that you've kind of touched on that, there's 2 points of interest, I think, in the chat. Jesse's that pointed out the working hard without a fancy degree. I think that's an interesting conversation. And then Reynold possibly is asking, is it beneficial to know HTML and CSS when doing UX design? How much should I learn about programming if I only want to focus on UX design? And that's another amazing discussion point, and it's something we hear a lot. And I mean, there's no right answer. I've always kind of fallen in the camp of it's good to know a little bit of it, just so you know what your engineers are dealing with. Of course, depending on the situation, your company or your whatever it might be, or the project may require you to know a lot more and actually build out whatever you're designing. That's a whole other situation. But if you're in a nice spot where your focus is design and not necessarily engineering, I think it's good to know some of it. HTML and CSS are pretty easy, in my opinion, to learn. You can probably learn the basics in a weekend or two, and it'll really help you understand, like I said before, what your engineers deal with and what's possible. I think that's probably the most important point, because I see a lot of designers, especially on platforms like Dribbble and Behance, posting these amazing shots, right?
Yes.
They're absolutely gorgeous. And then an engineer might get it and think, well, I can't do anything with this because it's way too complex. And, these days, engineers can do a lot. I use the Elevate app on my iPhone a lot. And that thing is just full of amazing, beautiful animations. So it really shows you that you can do a lot, but not all engineers are that skilled. So knowing the basics of a coding language, whether it's HTML, CSS, Swift, JavaScript, it's going to go a long way, but in most cases, it's not required as a designer. What are your thoughts, Brandon?
I would it's not required per se. If someone's hiring for a UI UX skill, that is what they're hiring for, where you're getting that additional level of expertise is, or it's not, it's a soft skill almost. It's communication between what you have to offer and to the development team. So if you, there's a difference between a designer who's just like, I just made this really cool thing, can you make it? And a designer who's like, okay, I made this really cool thing. I know that it's able to be made because I've checked X, Y, and Z, and they communicate that with the developer. It's so much easier to work in a team like that rather than like throwing things over a fence and being like, I made something, all right, developer, go do it. You know what I mean?
We see that a lot.
Yeah. So in regards to what you can learn or what, yeah, it's the communication skill that really just happens in the day-to-day. If you're in a team, if you're working with developers, you designing something and you talking with them, will this work? Will that work? What's not going to work? You guys, or you will learn just because by going through that process, you'll figure out like what is doable and what isn't doable in HTML, CSS, JavaScript capabilities. Whereas nowadays, you know, I've never written a line of code. I mean, I tried, but we have so many softwares out there nowadays where you don't have to learn code and you can basically make a one-to-one design of whatever it is that you've designed in Adobe XD.
Yep.
So that's my take on it. There's so many things to leverage nowadays. You don't need to know the fundamentals of, I mean, granted, you have to know, like, be able to talk about it, but you don't need to know how to write lines of code.
Right. I think we're definitely
take.
moving in that direction. We're seeing things like Webflow, for example, which is completely design based. Of course, there is an aspect of it where you can dive in there and write some code, but it's just moving in that direction faster and faster every single year. And eventually, you might not need to have any need for code, possibly. It'll take a while.
We just talk to our computer. We're like,
that?
make me a website.
Yeah, exactly. Stefan is asking, I have one question. Can you export Adobe XD animated UI UX file to React Native project? So the short answer is no. There's no direct link between XD and React or Swift or whatever it might be. But there are a bunch of plugins that will attempt to do it. And I say attempt because whenever you take a design and try to export it to code, it's probably never going to be 100% perfect. You may still need some knowledge in React or Swift or whatever it might be to touch it up a little bit and make sure that breakpoints work and animation looks great. But you can do a lot with plugins, and the Anima plugin, which One Sock Wonder is pointing out, is another one. He says a little bit bloated. We're gonna actually cover Anima at maybe today or tomorrow. We'll see. But
nice.
Yeah, some plugins will do it, but it's not gonna be perfect.
Yeah. And so, guys, what I'm doing here really quick is, again, I did already pre-do these buttons, and as you guys can see, I basically went in here with the same mask technique that we did with this end, but basically with our arrows over here. So I hope you guys caught that. But I'm going to go ahead and do it on the same side over here.
Yeah, go ahead and show everyone how that's done.
Let's see. So basically, let me just pull this out over here. So I have I'm going to ungroup everything. So I have my mask. I have my two buttons that I want to basically happen over on hover. I'm going to pull this back in. Make sure I grab everything. Control Shift F. Whoops. I grabbed too much. Control Shift. I keep grabbing that outside thing.
That happens.
Go away, border. We don't want you here. Actually, do this. Actually, I'm gonna take my border out because I really could have done something else, but. All right, there we go. We'll put the border in back later. So we're gonna put it into position, make this a component. Mm-hmm. We're gonna click in, and just like we did with the other buttons, but this time I'm explaining it. Oh, gotta make our hover state, bam. Click in, select everything.
And while you're doing that, Tony's asking, how do you export Adobe XD animation project as a video for uploading or sending to a client? So there's a few ways to do it. If you are using Adobe XD on the Mac, you're able to record videos natively from the preview window. So if you launch the preview at the top right, the little play button, you'll see a record button. You can record all of your animation, your entire prototype, and just send that directly as a MP4 file. If you're on Windows, like Brandon's on right now, you can use Windows Game Bar. You press the Windows key and then G, and that's because there's some limitations in Windows that you can't record directly from an application. So you have to use Windows Game Bar, or you can use something like OBS as well to do the same thing. You can also share your prototype. So if you go to the Share tab at the top, you can share your prototype for review. That way your client will be able to not only interact with it just like they could on the desktop, but they could also leave comments and that sort of thing.
Very nice. All right, so we're gonna get into our next bit of things. So we're gonna start getting into our blue section, our Chanel, all right?
Ooh, fancy.
So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna actually take our shoes off screen. I'll show you guys how to, because what we want to do, if we go back to the original animation, you see how they hover a little bit, they swing out and they swing back in. This is the type of feel that we're going for. So we're gonna just hop right back in. So we want to have these shoes flip out and flip back in. We'll do it in a little bit of a second. And I'm sure you guys, some people ask me like, how do I keep the shoes in? If I have them grouped, if you pull off things off the artboard, they just show off the artboard. But if you have it grouped with something that's at least on the artboard, they won't come off. So pro tip. All right, so now I'm gonna get these other shoes in. I'm going to change my circle color. Just gonna delete that, or I'm just gonna hide it. Bring in my blue circle.
Sure, and there's a lot of people in the chat asking about Adobe XD. Is it free? Is it paid? That sort of thing. So Adobe XD is free. You can download it for free, and until October, you can use the entire thing for free as if you were using a paid plan. We do have a paid plan as well, and that unlocks additional sharing and collaborative capabilities. You can share more than, I think it's 1 or 2 prototype links at a time, and you'll also have access to live co-editing as well after October if you're on a paid plan. But we do, the free plan will always exist. They may have some limitations, but for the most part, most people will be completely fine with the free version of XD.
Cool. Now we're gonna do something a little sneaky where this is kind of hacky.
Ooh.
So I want this, there's 2 different titles here. There's Chanel and then there's Yeezy. So instead of pulling this off to the side here and switching the names there, I'm actually gonna duplicate this really quick. I'm gonna pull this up and just type in Chanel women. All right, cool. So what I want to happen is I want this, as we transition from this page over to this page, I want Yeezy to go down and I want Chanel to come down, basically above.
Right.
So actually, you know what? We don't have to hack that. We're just gonna turn the opacity down to 0. I don't know why. Earlier today, I was just like, I don't think I had my coffee yet, but I think that's what it was. We're just gonna turn the opacity down, and actually not here. We're gonna turn the opacity up there. We're gonna bring it up here, turn the opacity down, just so that when we do switch artboards in the prototype, that it animates, comes down here from 0 to 100.
Yeah. You can also accomplish something similar using masks as well if you don't want to mess with the opacity.
Yeah, there we go.
That's probably the hack you were thinking about, right?
Yeah. But we'll see. We might do the mask, but we'll see what happens here. Actually, we might just do the mask because that
we have lots of time. Go crazy with it.
This actually might save time. Let's try it. We'll test it out. We have plenty of time, so let's work.
And just a reminder for anyone just joining, we do have about an hour until portfolio review, so hit that portfolio review tab at the top and submit it, and we'll take a look at some shortly.
Actually, we're just gonna do it the getaway because the mask is not working for me. All right. So let's see. Actually, first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that at least we get these shoes flying in. We'll do that first because that is an easy grab. All right, we're just gonna move everything out of the way, move our artboards, grab these, pull them off to the side because we want them to animate in when we get to our new page.
Yeah. Now, I will note that as you're doing this, some people might be asking or thinking, you know, why is the shoe not going onto the pasteboard? Because usually when you take an object from an artboard, move it off of the artboard, it goes onto the pasteboard, and that's by design. But one workaround is to place the objects inside of a group or inside of a mask or a component like it's in right now. That way it knows that it's part of a larger group of objects that are on the artboard currently, so it will not escape and go onto the pasteboard.
Exactly. And it's just an easier way to do it just because sometimes some people like to have their stuff hanging off the edge just like a little bit so it stays on.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like what's actually really interesting is when you animate things, the further you have things away from the board, the longer I don't know. It's just like you can kind of have like a timing to things. The further you have things come off from off the artboard.
Yeah, I do that a lot, and that's a fun trick because XD doesn't at the moment have advanced animation timelines and that sort of thing. Something the team is exploring, but at the moment they don't have that. So, you know, just like you said, if you put things further away from that artboard, it kind of gives the impression that they're coming in at different speeds, which is fun.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube is perfect. I was like, oh, I didn't know how to that was possible. I don't remember his name, but he has amazing he makes like really cool buttons, animates cool buttons in like how to make GUI buttons and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where he's based either, but he's I'm basically like, there's this cool guy on the internet that makes some really cool Adobe XD stuff.
That narrows it down.
But you know, yeah. All right, let's see where we're at because I know all this stuff is working. Let's see what happens. No, we don't. Oh, that's where we missed. Trigger. All right, we don't just want transitions, peeps. We want some cool stuff.
Gotta put that on auto animate on there.
Yeah, we gotta put some auto animate on there.
Yeah.
And I love Snap. Snap just looks really nice to me. We're gonna put this up by 0.6 seconds.
Snap and ease in and out are pretty good. The rest of them, bounce, I would probably never use. Ooh, look at that. Do that again.
One more time.
I missed it.
There's some things that we can like this, obviously, but you know, we're summer guys. We're in the midst of finding some stuff out. Yes. All right, let's see. Boom. Auto animate. Snap. All right. And one thing I really do like about Adobe XD is like it kind of knows if you're using. I don't even know what the technology or how this is built, but it kind of guesstimates if you make another component that is, I guess, the same component, and you make it not a transition, but an auto animate piece. It knows, it basically uses the same animation, auto animate that trait that you've been using on either your previous or similar components.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It does remember the previously used properties.
Yeah, so I think that's dope. I don't want this on my board right now.
While you're doing that, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could,
let's go.
I love asking this question. If you had the ability to add 1 or 2 features to Adobe XD tomorrow, what would you want to see?
Tomorrow. I was thinking about this morning. Oh, you know what it is? And it's this. I would have loved to have seen, it's a timing thing. Like if we were to go ahead and just say, okay, these shoes, we're gonna put it on like a rotating timer, and we make like we want the shoes to like elevate just like we have in our example here where they kind of hover.
Oh yeah.
I would love to do be able to have like a timing loop and also be able to do interactions as well in between the timing.
Right.
I know that's a very small thing, but it was very specific for me this morning.
No, I think it's definitely something that a lot of users would like. And at the moment, you can do a timed transition between 2 artboards and go back and forth. But once you start adding additional things like hover effects and additional interactions, it gets a little bit trickier because essentially I believe XD needs to wait until one of the transitions is complete before triggering another one.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's the main. What is am I
know,
only allowed one?
What was that?
Am I only allowed one?
No, you can keep going, but very quickly, one of the things that the team is looking at in terms of components and states is, you can create an animation maybe separately of those shoes kind of doing that little back and forth thing, and you essentially, they would like to offer the ability to save that little hover thing, or maybe hover is not the right word in this case, but the floating shoes, you would be able to save that as a looping animation as a component, and then you would be able to bring that onto an artboard. So that's something the team is looking at as well.
Interesting. That would be very helpful.
Yeah. What was the second thing?
I forgot.
Oh, okay.
We're just really in the zone. I mean, to be honest, I really don't have I haven't had like any super qualms with XD.
Oh, interesting. So Steven is
recently
saying, I would love if they could add padding persistence between states. So, we currently have content-aware layout. There's a padding option over to the right. And that's going to get better at some point in the near future. That's all I'm going to say.
Dope. All right. So we are, to be honest, let's double check where we're at. Let's double check. I think we're almost there. Oh, we have this to animate. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, that's how it goes in and out. And that's what we'll do. It goes into the circle. And then, okay, cool. That's actually much easier. So we're actually gonna do this. We're gonna break this up into 2 lines.
And Raphael has a question for you.
What's up, Raphael?
Do you always make animations for each project, and how do you present that to developers?
Let's see. So how do I present animations to developers? To be honest, to me it's as simple as literally exporting the animation, sitting down with them and saying, hey, this is what I've envisioned. Is it doable? And it's always the doable conversation. And then you get into like, okay, well, how fast or how slow does this thing have to be? And you have to talk through technicals with them, because you can envision anything as a designer, but really what gets outputted of that conversation and what gets on the website or app or whatnot comes from what you get out of that conversation with your developer. Like what you created, how are they going to create it? So, I mean, to me, it's as simple as first actually animate the thing, export that, sit down with your developer and have that conversation of, can this be done? And if not, what is that step back or that 2-step back that we can work on together? So it's all about communication, my friend. And I don't know why I keep deleting that. But it's communication. Your team is very important. And if you guys have a very good rapport and you guys don't just want to do the thing that takes like a day to make, and you guys want to really push the envelope, just communicate with one another on how you guys can actually make what you design come to life. That's my only, I know I said the same thing like 5 times.
No, I think it's good to reiterate it, because I think, communication is so important in a design project. Unless you are going to be designing, coding, exporting, testing, uploading, all those things, unless you're going to be doing all that yourself, then you need to be able to communicate with your developers or your project managers or whatever it might be, because if you don't, then the project is going to prolong itself just naturally over time, and that's probably what you don't want to do.
Exactly. And was there ever a time where Howard, like early in your career, like did you fear the developer? I don't know I'm not really entirely sure how to frame this question, because that question to me, because this answer is almost simple, like talk to your developer and see what you guys can figure out together.
Yep.
Is there I know it, like internally you're just like, oh, I made this really cool thing, I want to see it be made, but what have been some of the challenges that you've had working with developers in the past?
I think depending on the company, I don't work very closely with developers at Adobe because I'm not on a design team. But thinking back to previous jobs, depending on how the company is structured, you may not even know your developers. You may submit a design to GitHub or any of those other platforms and just hope for the best, right? Sometimes maybe you'll Slack somebody at some point and maybe introduce yourselves, or you'll be in a meeting once with a developer. But I do know a lot of designers who work for large companies that have no idea who the developers are on the other end. And that's a problem, I think, because like we were talking about earlier, if you don't know what that developer or development team is capable of, then you're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to submit your design, developer's going to come back, probably not directly, probably just as a comment on some thread somewhere saying that, well, we can't do this, fix it. And then you'll have to fix it. You'll not know exactly what to fix. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth. And it's just a hassle. So even if you don't know your developers, even if you're in a big company that's spread up all over the place, try to introduce yourself to that team. Try to have a meeting with them, figure out what they know, what they don't know. Ask them straight up, like, what can I do as a designer to help you? I think that can go a long way.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with larger, I had totally forgot about that. The last place that I worked was you didn't know your developer. And everybody on the team would be like, oh my God, they just blew it up. Like the design. And it really does, it makes a huge difference. Instead of just like chucking your design over the fence and being like, oh, okay, well, this is how things are. We may or may not have, the skilled developers vary. So how can you change that? Well, you have control of yourself. Go message, find where they sit, have a communication, and again, sit down with them, say, this is what I made. How can we get this to look like how I envisioned?
Yeah, and Lisa
or even the team
earlier was asking if you can, when you have time, can you go over the component at the bottom right again?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely. I think we can go over it again right now.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna bring it on its own artboard. All right, let's break it down. Component time. Okay, just gonna change this one. All right. Okay, so let me ungroup all the way.
Oh, and I realized I was muted to the stream. Yeah, ungroup it, go crazy, have some fun. We have lots of time.
All right, cool. So we have 4 different pieces here, basically. We have our mask, we have our mask and bag, or not mask and bag. We have our background and bag, and we have a different colored one because we wanted to basically have that effect that you guys saw previously, which is this. All right. So how we do that is, first off, we need to get these things in the mask. I'm going to pull this on in like that, and we're just going to select everything just like this. I'm going to hit Control M or Control Shift M. That's why my mask wasn't working earlier. And so when I click into this, everything that was within that first dark or rectangle is now inside here. So what I want to do is, since everything that is in here is only going to show within that rectangle space, right? I'm going to click in, and actually I lied. We're going to do this first. Were you going to say something, Howard?
No, I was just laughing at the fact that you lied.
Yeah, guys, I lied to you. All right, first thing, we have to turn this thing into a component because we need to make sure it has a current state and then a hover state. So we're just going to go ahead and hit Command K, which is, you can also hit the plus icon over here as well. Now we can go in, select everything here, and we're just gonna, I lied again. Gosh. We need to make a hover state. And now, not lying, we can go in, select everything, and drag. I hope this is doing what I'm asking it to do. It doesn't look like it. I want to make sure I'm selecting these things, but I want to make sure what's happening is that the view is basically changing. That this shopping bag in a dark rectangle in this gray and shopping bag replace. There we go. That's what I want. If you guys can see, yeah, we have this space here. We want to basically just switch out what's being shown in the mask. You guys can see that when I click in, this at the bottom, this is what we had before. We're basically just change. We have like a window basically, and we're like, okay, we're done with this rectangle in shopping bag. Let's select it and move it down out of that window, and let's pull all this other stuff in the window. Next, this other stuff is pretty simple. So this is where we're at right now. Let's just showcase where we're at. So we have our default state, which looks like this, our hover state, it looks like this. And if we go into the masks of either, this is what they look like. 1, hover state, 2. All right, cool. So we're gonna put that back on default. And this is what we're looking at right now. So that's where we're at.
Fancy.
It's
so
gonna
simple,
get even
but so fancy.
Exactly. When I learned this mask stuff, or when it, again, it was that one guy that I can't name on YouTube. I forget. But if you guys watch Jesse Showalter, my man's got all kinds of. He's the YouTube master. So if you guys watch him, he's got plenty of this stuff as well.
Yeah. He also hosts a lot of our daily challenges.
Exactly.
I think he just finished hosting the last set of challenges. Andrea's hosting right now. She's also fantastic. But yeah, Jesse has some great tutorials on YouTube. I've got some as well, not to plug myself, but I do have some.
Shoulder dust, we out here.
Throw it in there.
Yeah, we got it. All right, so this next piece, really simple. All we're gonna do is we're gonna just select all this and make another component. I'm going to, again, make a hover state. And I make that mistake again. And all we're gonna do is, this is our default state. This is what we want. What we wanna move into is basically, we're gonna just raise this up a little bit. And because we're fancy, I forget which way we're gonna do this, but we're just gonna turn the heel up, just like that, just a little smidge,
So, question for you, Brandon, as you're going through this, and I'm thinking this through in my mind. You've got essentially a hover state inside of a hover state. What's the reason? Why not just put from the beginning? Why not just put all that stuff inside of one component and make all of it part of this one hover state?
I mean, you could, but sometimes maybe you just want this. I think, like, if I just wanted to have, let's see, what component is this? As you guys can see, I'm an expert at naming my components. So let me just, now that I had to take off my glasses, the lights are really bright in here. My eyes started to tear.
Don't like you, Brandon.
Exactly. This is why I have to sit next to them. That's literally my skill. I am a horrible reader. I am a horrible email. Like, if you get an email from me, it definitely looks like I don't know. It looks like this. And that's probably me signing my name. Howard's like, yeah, that's exactly what your what is that? Discord messages look like.
Mm-hmm.
But the simple reason why is, they're like components, they're elements, right? So this is a big component made up of smaller elements, and that's this piece. Sometimes that's just a habit for me. Sometimes when you're making, a larger, you're creating a larger experience where you have multiple similar elements within an experience. Let's say Amazon, for example. I'm sure that they have, basically we're getting into UI design systems now, but this might be used in different scenarios outside of this. So that's why I saved this as a component. And I'm not even sure that was the question anymore, but that's why I have this as a component and this as a larger component.
Sure.
What do you actually? Okay, I was scared that I wasn't going to do anything, and you were asking me to put me on the spot because it was incorrect. You were like, so.
Well, I was sort of doing that because at the moment, hover effects inside of hover effects don't necessarily, as you can see there, it's not.
Oh, you're right. I don't even remember then.
I was trying to save you, Brandon.
You were. Then how did we do this? We did it right the first time, ladies and gentlemen.
Single component?
I think it probably was. Yeah. Let's see. Got that mask. We got that.
Oh, someone's saying my volume's a little bit low. Okay, I will fix it.
Actually, yeah, you're right. So it was all one component. You got me, Howard. So, all right, if you just want one, if you want one component like this, just animate it like that. If you want everything together, let's see, let's undo that. Let's undo our mistake and re-explain ourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Oops, I just switched to another screen. There we go. We're back now.
All right, cool. So we are going to
Okay,
wow, we have to
I made
go
some
back.
tweaks to the audio. Hopefully I sound a little bit better. Sounded like you were a little bit louder than I was.
Who, me?
It could just
We
be
got that dominating voice.
Yeah, it could just be how you are.
It might be. All right, let's see. We're gonna ungroup that. Okay, so we have no component now. We just want one. Okay. Select everything. Command or Control K. Go in, plus, hover. We're gonna go into our mask first. Select everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops. Pull everything down. Then we go over to our friend Yeezy.
Are they as comfortable as people say?
As comfortable?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
The
What do you
shoes.
mean? I really wish I had a pair, to be honest
Okay.
with you. Do you have a pair?
I do not.
Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, let us know. Do you have a pair of Yeezys and are they comfortable?
Look at
I
that.
know
That's
friends
a
who
fancy animation. Play that again. I missed it. Look at that.
It's got some smoothness to it. I think our original still is still like the pristine version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one. I don't know what it is about that one, but that heel action, it gets me every time.
Looks good.
Yeah. We got the shoes there, and we did put a little buy thing here. Let's see. All right, so we have our text going in and out, but I want to do a little bit more dramatic. I really like how how when it switches out, it's like a nice dramatic. The top one goes a little bit faster, and the bottom one.
Yeah. I also
Let's see
like
if we
that,
can do that.
the circle in the background does that little popping thing.
Ooh, I didn't even realize we're gonna have to do
We
quite a
have
few
to do that
things.
now.
Yes, we do. All right, let's take another look.
Aaron
Oh, there's
says
some
no,
bounce.
but Ultra Boosts are comfy. Ultra Boosts are comfy.
Ultra Boosts,
Yeah, they're the I think they're Adidas.
Adidas.
Mm.
We should have a conversation on that. Adidas or Adidas?
I've never heard Adidas, but
Really? That's a
You
that's a German thing.
oh okay.
Yeah. Are you familiar with AJ and Smart, the
No.
design sprint company in Berlin? No. All right. Well, that was my first lecture. When I was on a call with them, they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" They were like, "We can't talk to you any longer if you're gonna be saying Adidas." And I was like, "But why?" And they were like, "Because it's Adidas." I guess it's because actually I don't even know, but basically what I was told is they are, that's how, I guess just how it's pronounced there. But where is Adidas from? Do you know? Or Adidas, whatever. I think I just have so much PTSD. That's how I say it now.
I have no idea. GE is asking, can we just animate just in XD or we'll still need After Effects? So everything that Brandon has made today is completely in XD. And you can do some pretty crazy stuff just using Adobe XD. If you check out my Dribble account or you check out Jesse's Twitter or YouTube, there's a lot of different examples out there. If you do need like super advanced control over your prototyping, or you want things like particle effects and things like that, then you can actually export your entire Adobe XD project to After Effects to get that advanced control. But using things like auto animate and masks and different hacks here and there, you can do a lot in XD.
Indeed. I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, that's the invisible one. Lol.
Now there's debates in the chat about how to pronounce Adidas. Look what you've done.
I want so badly. I can't wait to see the chat and what exactly everybody's deciding. What are people deciding?
I can't tell exactly.
All right, I can't wait to look.
One Sock Wonder thinks it's German. But I think most people are saying it's Adidas.
Adidas.
Possibly. Who knows?
Next time we're in the chat, I got to bring my buds on over. I know. Hold on, Jesse. I know you're in the chat. I know you talked to Jesse knows who I'm talking about. Jonathan. Jonathan is very big on the Adidas. But yeah. Okay. Let's check how this circle is doing. I have no idea what to expect. Actually, let's see. Let's go into. Oh, what happened to our? Oh, here we go. Boom. That should bring us over here, and for some reason it didn't. Why are we out here playing games? Oh, okay. Oh, what was that? Oh, we gotta fix that. The circle was like, hello. Yeah, that's probably a layer thing. Let's see.
Yeah, could be.
That's actually one thing. That's one thing I would probably ask for.
Like Z order type of thing.
Yeah, which is really interesting. Like I was, a lot of the time I'd be like, well, why did that just happen? And it's because of however, like if blue's on top of yellow, in this yellow has to be, actually there's two of them. Okay.
And Julia's saying it's Adidas. So you got some votes in there.
That's a new one to the mix.
Uh-huh.
All right. That needs to go. All right. So we have our yellow. Put that joint on top of the blue. And we have, okay, that's why.
Steven is asking, when should you use component states versus artboards for animation? I'll take a crack at this and then you can probably expand on it. Looking at Brandon's design right now, things like the component at the bottom right corner, or the hover effect where it says buy now, or those little arrows to the left, those you definitely almost always want to use component states. And it's because it just saves a ton of space, right? In addition to all the benefits of components where you can reuse them and you can keep them up to date, the last thing you want is to have two massive artboards, and these are probably like 1920 by 1080 artboards. You don't want two of these artboards just to prototype a hover effect, for example. This little tiny button, you don't want two massive artboards for that. So in that case, you would definitely want to use component states. In terms of artboard to artboard transitions, if you are transitioning between two very different things, like the brown shoes and the blue shoes, where a lot changes and a lot moves in and various components possibly or elements might be changing, that's kind of when you want to start using different artboards, when there's something very different going on between them.
Indeed. All right, so now I think we got the circle. It's not as pretty as what it is. It just takes more finagling, but we have the basis of that circle bounce. What I would love to have happen, though, is I don't like the difference of the you can kind of see like the opacity over top that yellow.
Bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we can fix that somehow.
I'm sure you can.
Let's got this about it. We got the yellow. We want the blue. Actually, we don't want opacity to happen. We want it to just get small. So let's see if we can.
Someone is asking still about my microphone. I only see one person asking about my microphone. It's a little bit lower. Let me know if someone else wants to jump in there. Does my microphone sound a lot lower? Because I did raise it. I don't know if it got pushed or not. But while that's going on, someone's asking about the difference between using XD to animate our UI and After Effects. So there are a few differences. After Effects, of course, has a timeline. It has some advanced capabilities like particles and things like 3D, but a lot of it comes down to what you're more comfortable with. XD is a UI and UX design application, so you're naturally going to be doing a lot of your UI and UX designs inside of Adobe XD. And if you're more comfortable working in XD, then it's just natural to continue the prototyping process in XD. But if you're more familiar and you feel more natural in After Effects, then you can totally do that. Audio's good. Audio's good. Sounds good. Sounds loud enough. Okay. So it's just the one guy.
Oh, wait, hold up. Just that one guy? Well, that's good.
Just
right,
the
we
one.
have... Now we got it to a little bit. Now we, like that going forward is good. Going back is a little funky because it's going out that way.
Yeah. You're getting there. And this is all part of the design process, right? Just trial and error and experimentation.
And the funny thing is I already, like, guys, it really is part of the process because it's like I did this twice before just to make sure I had everything.
Oh, you know what? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think I know what might be going on with my audio. It may be pushing out only to the right channel or the left channel. I think that could be it. And I don't think I can fix that until we end the stream, so I will fix that. If that is the problem, I will fix that for tomorrow's stream, and I do apologize, Ivan. I believe you could be correct.
Okay, here we go. Center. All right, that should fix it. Basically, I just had to center the blue thing. There we go. But I still don't like how it's... Why is going forward good?
Ooh, Angel saying, two of my favorite designers together. Please make more content. I would love to do more collaborations and things like that. If I had the time, I totally would.
Yes. Well, actually, I'm not even sure if we can even talk about... What is your schedule like? How much content? Because you are a content creator. But how much is your time dedicated to content, and how much is it like other things?
It's almost all day content. If I'm not physically producing videos or live streaming, then I'm creating assets for those live streams or the videos. Even on weekends when I'm trying not to work, I'm usually just sitting on the couch designing things, especially during the quarantine and things like that. Because we do have a lot of UI kits that we can use, but I'm the type of person who loves designing my own original stuff for my videos and my live streaming. So, on any given week, I have anywhere between probably 2 and 5 live streams. Sometimes I'm hosting people like yourself, which is, you can attest to this. We spend most of the weekend trying to figure this out. It's very different than, getting someone else in with their video feed and their desktop and things like that. And, it's very taxing on the computer. I'm surprised my computer hasn't blown up. So there's a lot of content going on. And, so most of my days are producing content. Of course, there's always meetings about that content that you're going to be producing. So it's nonstop, but I can't complain because this is a dream job for me. So I love it.
I wouldn't be able to complain either.
Mm-hmm. Especially, on a more serious note, especially with everything that's happening lately with the COVID situation, people are out of jobs. The unemployment rate is higher than it's ever been. You got to be thankful for things like this. And I really hope, I say this a lot, but I really hope that people in the chat are okay throughout this situation. We've heard a lot from people that these streams in particular, not just you and me, but the Adobe live streams in particular have exposed additional things to people who may be out of work. They might be transitioning to UI or UX or graphic design or video editing and things like that. And I'm very happy that these streams are helping many of you.
That's a nice like, I don't know. It's really weird. Let's talk about this because this blew my mind yesterday.
Sure.
This is how like under a rock I feel like. For those of you guys who play Fortnite, there was I would love to know if you were hip to this, Howard. A rapper had his on-stage performance in Fortnite. Mm-hmm. Were you like? Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it. I've played Fortnite once, and I just gave up. Back when I was younger, that would have been my thing. But nowadays, I just don't. I'm getting old, Brandon. But I'm very into that world because I used to work for what are those YouTube network type of things. Yeah. So I know about all the gamers. I didn't work necessarily with the talent, but I worked with the talent agents who worked with those gamers and a lot. So I know everything that's going on in that world. And that's kind of the world we live in now. We're seeing concerts and we're seeing plays and song collabs and things like that done on TikTok and Instagram and all these different places. And it's kind of brilliant because these musicians are taking advantage of the situation, not in a bad way, but they're realizing, they can't host these concerts in person. So, they gotta do what they can to keep engagement going, because as an artist, you have to keep engagement going. Otherwise, you're gonna lose that audience.
Exactly. And I typed it in on my other screen. It's Travis Scott. I watched this thing, and like people logged in the video game literally to watch a customized in video game concert, and I was just like, wow, this is the future. That's I felt old. I was like, yo, like the people nowadays are, it's like, when when you were younger, our parents were like, stop playing video games. and now it's just like the switch is flipped, and it's just like, Sally, Sam, you better get in there and play League. If I don't hear League of Legends playing, you're grounded.
It's absolutely wild. Going back to my days at that YouTube network, obviously I can't give specifics because there's probably NDAs around this, but there were gamers that we represented that, they weren't necessarily good at the video games they were playing. They were just very entertaining people. And I kid you not, these people would make literally millions per month playing video games, which, hey, more power to them. I know a lot of people would say, well, that's stupid. They're just sitting and playing. Yeah, but they're making millions a month playing video games. So you can be as jealous as you want. I would love to be able to make millions a month playing video games.
Yeah, and I think what's really happening is and I actually didn't know about your background, or at least we haven't talked at length. You're, managing this talent at YouTube and seeing the ins and outs of those relationships and how those sort of thing and that business works. What's my train of thought? Where I feel like being talent or a personality is so much easier. Where like, being a news anchor, being somebody who's in the mainstream media, you kind of have to have relationships and get in there. And there's only so many spots for X amount of stations, MTV, blah, 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 whatever you have. But where the internet, you're able to, like, with your personality and whatever your skill set is, be able to showcase that on the internet and produce your own show, produce your own whatever for free on the internet.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a very different world. And probably 10 or 12 years ago when YouTube just started, it was definitely a free-for-all. But now it's getting to the point where it's kind of shifting almost back to the Hollywood model, where you actually have to have talent, you have to be funny, and anybody could technically make it, but there's I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't watch enough of this content to really know, but at least from my time at that network it was definitely shifting in that direction, where on YouTube, if you wanted to make it, you have to have like very high quality videos. You have to be somewhat funny, somewhat skillful at whatever talent you had, and otherwise you're just gonna fizzle away.
Exactly. And I think another thing is like, I'm just taking your word skillful, right? I feel like regardless of what it is, whether you have to train to be funny, you have to train to have a camera presence. I'm sure, like, bring us back to like day one of like Pinsky video.
Oh gosh.
Of your YouTube. Everybody's got it. I got it. Mine's probably, I can't. I cry. But like, what was day one of your YouTube channel? Like, even as talented and as skillful, I don't like the word talented, but as skillful as you are today, like, what was day one like?
Oh, it was brutal. But this kind of goes back to what Jesse, I don't know if Jesse's still in the chat, but
Jesse, come back.
We're going to get to this discussion at some point. But, making it and working hard without some sort of fancy degree. And, I finished high school. I went to college for 3D animation and design. And, life was weird at the time. I ended up having to drop out of 2 different colleges because of personal reasons. And that's kind of when YouTube was just starting. So I jumped on it to give myself something to do. And I uploaded a Photoshop tutorial. It's still on my YouTube channel. You can probably find it somewhere if you sort by oldest. It's brutal. It's me sitting there with my old MacBook Pro, that like big clunky one, using the terrible webcam, the built-in microphone. I looked like a mess. I sounded like a mess. I had no presence at all. But it gave me something to do. It made me happy. I knew Photoshop very well, so I kind of ran with it. And being as bad as it was, there were certainly terrible comments on that video. But there are also very encouraging ones, because Photoshop tutorials at the time on YouTube, when it was just getting started, I think YouTube was like less than a year old, it really wasn't a thing. So people were kind of excited to see this kind of content on YouTube. So it gave me a push to keep going. And I think that's what allowed me to really start developing my on-camera personality. The voice that you hear now, it's not as boring and as monotone as it used to be. It's still not great, but it's better than it was. And when people ask me all the time, how do I get good at making video tutorials or live streaming? The short answer is just you got to do it. It's not going to be good day one unless you have experience in that sort of thing. It's not going to be good in month one, but if you keep going, month 6, year number 1, you're going to get pretty good. And if you go back and watch your older content, you're going to see a drastic difference as long as you keep it up.
Yeah, that's the key thing. It's like persistence of attaining a certain goal. Like you didn't come out into the world like with golden voice, golden skills. There's a lot of work in that. And I feel like I think that's the key to anything, knowing that you can have whatever it is that you want. It just takes time and understanding which direction you're going in.
Yeah, look at I think it's James Earl Jones. I think it was him. He's got one of the world's most recognizable voices, but if I'm not mistaken, he had a very bad stutter when he was younger. And if he wouldn't have worked at it, got lessons, got therapy to correct that, then he would not be where he is today without all that practice and dedication. So it doesn't matter if you want to be a voice actor, a live streamer, a YouTube, whatever it might be, you just got to practice and keep going. Don't give up.
Exactly. Now, going into, because you just mentioned live streaming, and I was just really curious, and I'm also curious in the chat because I know we're all home. What games are you guys watching? And now I'm gonna bring it back to you, Pinsky. Would you live stream Animal Crossing?
Of course. I used to, on occasion, live stream some games. Hearthstone, I was big into. Still play it from time to time. Overwatch too. I'm huge into Animal Crossing right now. My wife is just addicted to it. She's probably playing it right now. And I would definitely live stream it if I had some time, because I know there's an audience out there and people like to, just very similar to how people like to sit back on their couch on a Sunday afternoon and watch people play football. It's very similar to that. It's a very relaxing experience in some cases. You're watching somebody who possibly in some cases has skills that you may not possess. So they're just, it's a satisfaction or gratification type of thing.
Gratification.
I don't know what the word is.
Words are dictionary of Pinsky. Gratification. I love that. Oh, yeah. I had no idea you streamed video games. That's awesome.
Not a lot. I did like once in a while when I was bored.
Yeah. All right. My brother actually. Go ahead.
So very quickly, as Val mentioned, we have 15 minutes until portfolio review, so definitely submit yours if you haven't yet. Go ahead. Val. What's up?
I forgot.
Okay,
I was into. Good. Brandon forgot his next thing. Let's see. I want to check in on this.
So what are you doing? Talk me through your process.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is I created a search component because basically we're looking pretty good outside of this search thing. We've done everything that this can be slowed down a little bit. That's a little too quick. But we have everything. We have our our text flying in, our title. We have our circles going in and out. I know there's still something a little funky there. I haven't really been able to figure it out. Yeah, it's not too bad. Obviously, there again, that's when you talk to your developer. Hey, not like that. look at, not like that, like this.
Mm-hmm.
You just show them a real example. And granted, the thing is also, this is another thing. I feel like a lot of designers think you have to have something pixel perfect, and I would love to have this conversation with you too, Howard. I am not a pixel perfect designer because we have so many tools, and timelines are speeding up every freaking day. So, I get my rough idea out, and just like how this isn't perfect, my animations aren't perfect. It's good enough to communicate what I want to get done. And this is something I could probably bring to a developer. If the timeline is really short, obviously, if I only have, an hour and a half to create something and send off,
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're doing. But if you have more time, refine it. But how do you feel about pixel perfect stuff?
It depends what I'm working on. I mean, if like you said, if the goal is to simply communicate what something will look like or what something will animate like, then it may not have to be pixel perfect. And I know, especially when I'm designing on stream, a lot of people live and die by the 8-pixel grid, and that definitely helps developers. But in some cases, if you're just designing for a case study or a dribble shot or just to communicate something, then it probably doesn't have to be pixel perfect. But again, it goes back to what your developers are looking for. If your developers need icons that have to be 45 pixels tall or wide, right? Then you probably have to deliver on that. And I'm just reading chat. Jeff is asking about Adobe XD dark mode. So XD does not have dark mode. We hear this a lot, and it's something that obviously we want to get to at some point, but there are at the moment a lot of higher priority features that we need to tackle first. And on the surface, dark mode may seem like something that's very simple to accomplish. You just take all the elements and you darken them, right? It's not that easy, especially when you're working with design systems across the company and the complexity of Adobe XD on various levels. It's a lot of work. So eventually, one day, XD will have dark mode, but not today. Our goal is to blind you at 3 a.m. when you open up your computer.
I love that. I'm actually stuck here. I'm trying to make this, and I have no idea why it's doing this. I want to bring this down, circle, cool. Turn that down. And there's this other hourglass that we do not want. I'm gonna close that real quick. Turn it off. All right. Oh, okay. We're good. I don't know why I was having issues with that. Cool. So basically doing the search bar, this is our, this is not what we want for the default state.
You're breaking things?
I am breaking things because
Okay.
I want this as the hover state and this as the default state.
Oh.
And I cannot switch the two.
You cannot.
Sadness. All right.
Do it again.
Going back to square one, guys.
Dark mode would be gold for designers and developers. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the team that would argue that XD should not have dark mode. It's all a matter of priorities, making sure that we're delivering on features that would actually improve your designing. And while dark mode, you can argue, would improve your design experience, it may not necessarily improve the actual content that you create in XD. So it's something that we'll see eventually, I hope at least. But, let's get through some of the bigger features. I know Vipin was talking about horizontal scrolling on a single artboard. That's something that's in the works. And there's a few other things that are at the top of the list on user voice that are actively in development. So let's get through those first. And then, if we have some time, we'll get to dark mode. I want dark mode. I don't know about you, Brandon, but I love dark mode.
Dark mode and everything is absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually missed because I was doing this. What is next?
What?
What's next in the whatchamacallit? In our in XD's map, development map?
Oh, I can't confirm what's coming next, but Vipin was talking about horizontal scrolling, and that's something that's actively in development. I can't confirm when that's coming, but it's coming. There's a lot of things that are actively in development that are coming. But yeah. How about those different hover states are sent to developers? Not sure what that means, Jeff, but if you are talking about states within development specs, then that is also in the works. So we will provide states in your developer specs. Yes.
Okay.
JB saying, are there plans to introduce Control-C for eyedropper? Seriously, how doesn't XD have this, a hotkey for color select? It does actually. You press the I key on your keyboard, and you get the eyedropper tool.
That's actually what I've been using in here. If not,
you can also copy an element and then paste the appearance. You can add it to your assets panel. There's a lot of different ways to grab colors in XD. So press the I key. You'll be surprised.
All right, so basically I finally did the reverse. When we hover over the icon, our little hourglass here, or not hourglass, what is this? Looking glass, the search icon. We get a nice little pop out, and it doesn't have to be this thick. I think that's just how I typed it out. So let's calm that down. All right, and let's see. Make sure that it's at least the same. Boop. All right. Boop.
Got a boop.
I keep forgetting, guys. All right, let's check this out. Now, for some odd reason, it is... Oh, that's why. Because we got two different fonts happening. Let's just undo all that. Let me...
Can I paste inside a component? You certainly can. Yeah. Nice thing about components in XD is that you can paste new elements. You can remove elements from components. So they don't necessarily have to exist in other states or the master component or the instances. If one of your components requires a different icon, you can just copy and paste that icon directly into it, or you can drag it from your assets panel. It's cool stuff. Where can we find shortcuts for Adobe? So there actually is in XD in the plugins panel, and we'll talk more about plugins tomorrow. There is a shortcuts plugin, but there's also, I believe, a web page on HelpX that lists all the shortcuts. Maybe one of the moderators will be able to find it and pop it in there. Speaking of features, what's coming in the next release and when? So April is all about bug fixes. I believe Andrew Shorten kind of talked about this on Twitter. Because of the whole COVID situation, the roadmap got shifted a little bit. We're focusing a lot on collaborative tools in the coming year, I would say. But there's going to be an update in May at some point. I can't tell you the date because things always move sometimes. And there's going to be an update in June, obviously. So, the monthly updates will continue. But we do have some pretty big features coming at some point in the coming months. But I can't confirm. Andrew Shorten's the guy who will confirm these things, but I cannot.
All right. So let's see. Let's go to our prototype thing. Dun, dun. We got ease out. I want to see what snap looks like, just for some giggles. I just want to see what that looks. That's a little harsh, but it's. Let's go back to it.
But I think if you slow it down, it could look pretty nice.
Let's do that 0.6. Ooh. That feels a little something.
Not too
Let me
bad.
see what. I'm gonna do one. Let's see what this looks like.
It's not bad either.
Okay. Let's do 4. Let's see what that looks like. And I think that's it, guys.
Yeah.
We do have 6 minutes before the portfolio stuff, but the only other thing I would fix is this button. That hurts. That hurts a lot.
Fix it. You got 6 minutes to fix it. Igna is asking, wait, can we swap instances in XD? Clarify what you mean about that, but one thing you can do in XD is you can actually just drag one component onto another and it'll swap it, or you can dive into an instance and make changes and override things. But clarify what you mean about swap instances, because that can go in various directions.
Let's do that 0.2. All right, there we go. Why does that look better?
So what? I just muted myself. What's going through your mind as you're designing this?
So what I'm doing is I'm basically just trying to match whatever the speed of this animation is with this one, and it looks like it's 0.3. It's because I automatically type that out, 0.3, and just make sure we don't want the keypad. We don't want that at all, but it's not doing anything.
Delete.
Actually, it's not letting me delete. Usually you can right click and do that.
You press delete on your keyboard?
Oh, my thing it only has a backspace. Oh, there we go. I have one of those short keyboards, so I'm just like, yeah, I don't have a delete one. I have one of those fancy ones where it's just like you have half keyboard. All right, that's much better. Even though this one seems a little bit, I don't know what that is. The right one seems a lot smoother than this one. I don't know what that's all about.
It could be the color that's throwing things off.
Yeah, I think that's what it might be. But everything is good here. I'm happy with this.
It's looking pretty good.
There's some funky stuff happening there.
That's okay. For like an hour and a half, that's not too bad. Marcus is saying the easing is different.
The easing actually is, let's see. You might have caught it a little bit. 0.3 and then 0.3.
That one's ease in and out. Go back to the other one.
Oh, you're right. I think ease in and out. I keep hitting the plus thing.
Just click on the actual wire, like the little sprout thing. So that's ease in and out. 0.3. That one's ease out.
Aha.
Thank you, Marcus.
Smarty pants. The extra pair of eyes. There we go, good sir. Okay, I can sleep at night now. All right, good stuff.
This is why we all need to design with a live audience, just to catch these things.
Exactly. And I mean, that's it. How you feel, Howard?
I think this is looking pretty, aside from that circle thing, which you're probably going to work on and obsess over tonight. I think this is looking really fresh. And for just an hour and a half that you've been working on this, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. And I think this circle thing, the only thing I'd probably be able to do, and I might be able to, if I just moved everything. Let's see if we can do this in like 3 minutes.
And just to quickly address Mock's question about Windows 10 and some crashing issues, the team is looking into a few isolated incidents using Windows. So go ahead, if you can, tweet at Adobe Care on Twitter, and they're going to collect some logs from you to really find out and figure out exactly what's causing some of these issues. So hopefully we can get that sorted out.
Ooh, very nice. And in the last 1 minute we were able to fix not the circles, but that weird texting that was happening. The circles, I don't know would you fix that? I tried to center it.
Are they centered in both states or both?
Let's see. This is yellow. Right? They should be. Yellow. Oh,
it's not.
It's the yellow one.
Darn yellow one.
I centered the blue one, but not the yellow. Ooh, that's a little better. Okay. There we go. All right. Just got to go back and forth. All right. I think we're good there.
That's looking pretty good. And with that, I think, you know what? Let's go ahead 1 minute early. We'll come back to this in a moment. But let's go ahead. I'm going to switch over to us just so we can chat for a little bit while I get our portfolios all set up. I'm going to send over these links. It's a little bit different than what we usually do, where we what do we do? Where we're sitting actually together. So I'm going to go ahead and just Slack you over this one, and I'll send over the second one, and we are going to look at these together.
All right.
Let me go ahead. Okay. So I'll just look at it from your screen. I'm going to hop back over here. We'll look at the first one, and there's
okay.
What is that? There's some weirdness going on my screen. There's like this big black box. I don't know if anyone else can see it, but let me go ahead and let's go back over here, and I'm just going to cancel this for a second. I'll just shift this over. We'll just do it this way. All right, let's go back over here. No, there's still a black box. What is that?
Black box,
I
go
don't know if
away.
the
Everybody
chat's
in
gonna
the
see
chat,
this.
let's chant it. Black box, go away.
But I don't know what this is. Weirdness going on. I'll just move this over. I'm sure the chat's gonna yell at me that there's this big black box in the middle of the screen. But let me go ahead and bring
Is it
chat
me?
over here.
Is it me?
No, I don't think it's you.
Okay.
But anyways. All right, so here is our first portfolio that we're going to take a look at. If you can see that big black box in the middle there, ignore it. I don't know what is going on. Yeah, I saw the box. Yep, I don't know. It is what it is, right? Live streaming is fun. All right, so this is Marco, and you're taking a look at this as well, Brandon?
Marco, let's go to Marco.
All right, so this is Marco. Let me zoom in here so we can kind of see what's going on with Marco. His name is Marco. He recently occupied for logo design and helping people build brands. He had a dilemma for what to go and what to do as, but I'm still thinking. All right. He likes graphic design and art. All right. That's cool. What I would say is, feedback for this section, black box go away. I don't know what's going on with this black box. It's weird because you can see my cursor. What is happening? Do you know what's happening, Brandon? Because I don't.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. It is what it is, right?
It is.
All right. Let me try. You know what? Let me try something. Let me try to fix this for a second.
This guy has. I really want to click into this golden horse and logo package. To be honest, that's the first thing that caught my eye.
Which one is it?
It's the third one over.
This one?
It's the G and the horse.
Okay. So talk a little bit about that while I'm trying to fix this black box.
All right, let's get into this premium horse, golden horse in premium wine. All right, so at the top, I kind of dig what he's showcasing a little bit of his efforts here. He has direction 1, direction 2, and, to be honest, as you're showcasing any work, it's very good to at least show your direction. And that's pretty much what he's doing in the first pieces here. And I can respect that. It shows me a little bit of a glimpse into his mind of how he thinks, works, and how he went about this project. So I'm pretty down with that. But here, this is when I can give the kisses to the air. It's not just about the logo. It's about how you, in branding, it's how you put that logo into work. And I'm not going to lie, I'm really dying for this packaging right here. I think that's really dope. He also presents what that logo is going to look like on the wine bottle, and again showcasing where his thinking comes from, although I'm not entirely sure where that G comes from, but I see how he put together the G and the horse and came about with a really good idea. So all in all, I think this is pretty strong about how he went about showcasing his process. That's the strong bit. Granted, there's a whole bunch of technical things that we can go over, but I think all designers, when they see this, they can take away exactly how to showcase one's work, not just throwing a logo, showcasing, okay, this is the project, this is how I thought about it, and this is how, as time progressed on this project, I really tried to integrate this logo into not just putting it on Behance, but how I thought about it in relation to the brand's products. So it's a great project.
Yeah, I agree. And I got the box away. Thank you, Val, for letting me know what was going on. It was actually a piece of your webcam window, which I cropped away. I probably somehow extended it at some point, but yeah, it's gone.
My webcam.
So going through this, I completely agree with you. One thing that I love is whenever you see a logo or some sort of a brand on a physical product, like a wine bottle like this, I think that can go an incredibly long way. The one thing that stands out to me, and maybe you have some suggestions on how to fix this, is the actual logos right underneath the dark section at the top. There's these two logos, and they've got this very harsh dark border on it, and I think it's taking away from the beauty of the actual logo, and it just I don't know, it's just standing out a lot. What would you say for that? Or would the answer just be get rid of the border?
I would say get rid of the border, but to me, this, how they introduce this gold into, I think the strongest piece about this is how this logo looks on black. So I'm actually really curious if gold was even the right choice here, because every time he shows, he shows it on either as a black logo or on a darker background. I bet this could be really strong as just a white and as a white logo and a black logo.
Right.
Granted, this, the brand colors might have just been gold. They wanted to go for that luxurious look. If that's the case, definitely pull out just this stroke. Again, it's taking away from what the logo actually could be, and even if it's presented on products, I'm assuming this stroke wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the product shots, and there's definitely no indication of the stroke. And I think, the final shot down at the bottom where it uses the gold logo and part of the G that kind of overlaps into it is kind of knocked out. I think this works almost, but it's very situational, because if you scroll up a little bit and you see the G and the bits of the logo that are just white, that also works. It's very minimalistic. So it depends on the situation, but yeah, for whatever reason, the stroke, I would just get rid of that in this section of the top, because it's not working in my opinion.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on. Which one do you want to look at next?
This llama's kind of screaming my name, but I either want to go into llama or this school portfolio down here. But let's pick the llama. Do we agree on the llama?
Sure, let's go for the llama.
I'm getting like a Emperor's New Groove feeling on this.
Yeah,
one.
I'm almost also seeing like the top of a head. I don't know if it's related to this, but I'm seeing like the bottom of the llama. It almost looks like a hairline. Do you see it? Now you can't unsee it.
I don't want to see it, but it kind of almost either that or is like someone's like illustrated abstract beard, and like I'm seeing faces now.
Let's see what this is all about. So we got a bunch of llamas.
Let's get into llamas.
Different colors. We've also got some black and white ones with some outlines. I would say the same thing for the strokes. I mean, it's the thin stroke. I'm not sure, but the strokes are just not. They don't seem to be working.
Yeah, and one thing is this guy's Marco, right?
Yeah.
Marco's. It seems like his. I don't know, for some reason, like the white always stands out to me. So this might just be like the color choices aren't as strong as they could be, whereas like even the solid colors, like this is way stronger than the mixed colors.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we can gather a form from this. We can gather a form from the solid, whereas like this is definitely someone's beard, and I don't know. But I think the solid forms are way stronger. Even here, when he has these different colors and the different colored llamas, like these are very strong forms.
Yep, I agree. I love that he's also including the different fonts and typefaces he used, and then some textures. I love the one on the right where it's like a very, almost like a stipple or stupple, whatever you want to call it, noisy texture, and then some examples. The one thing that I think is missing from this project is I have no idea what llama is. Like, I know what the animal is, of course, but what is this logo used for? Is it like a hair salon? Is it a restaurant? Is it a shop for toupees? I don't know what this is, but we need to know some of this information. If you're going to put a case study like this, let us know what llama is for, what challenges you may have faced when designing this logo, and that sort of thing.
Definitely. It's not just about like how cool that logo or that branding is. It's exactly everything you just mentioned.
Yep. All right. Which one's next?
Let's see. I'm gonna let you pick that next one.
All right. I'm gonna go for this Da Vinci Code one down here. I read the book ages ago, loved it. So let's see what this is all about. All right. It's a nice shot at the top.
Oh, it's a book cover.
Ooh. All right. Some information about the book, I'm assuming. Okay, so that's the back of the book, and then the front of the book is on the right. Got it. Okay, so I'm assuming this is just a book cover redesigned for the Da Vinci Code.
Exactly. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and it looks good. I mean, it's great artwork. It's pulling in from Leonardo da Vinci. You've got the title. No unnecessary drop shadows or strokes. Very straightforward. Again, I think I would want some more information about why you did this, right?
Exactly.
So someone in the chat saying it's a lawyer's logo for the llama thing. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that changes everything. That's a whole other discussion. Yeah, I would want some more information about this project, like why you decided to redesign the cover, what your challenges are, what you were aiming to do. Was this for a project? Like, is this for an actual book cover, for example? It's probably not. I mean, it might be, but I want to know these things.
Yeah. I think it's really good for, I always say, like, if you don't have, when you're trying to get a job in design, whether it's graphic design or whatnot, you have that whole thing about like, you need experience before you can actually get experience. And yes, the easiest way to get experience is do practice projects. But the thing is you have to, as you're creating these projects for yourself, you have to also have and write out your own, what's the word I'm looking for? Howard, your own brief. You have to create your own brief so that when somebody looks at your work and trying to decipher why you did this project, they can still not just see how well you design, but how you go about your process in doing, even though you created your own brief or you did an automated brief online, they kind of see how you went about going through this process of creating this, why you did it, how, and not just the output. Nobody cares about the output. That's something that's, nowadays it's really easy. That's the cheap stuff. People can easily hire any type of designer. That's not the valuable thing. The valuable thing is what are you doing in that process? It's, the strategic thinking, what else? How you go about doing your research. Everybody can design now. Everybody can open XD. Anybody can open Photoshop and hit a couple of YouTube videos. But that other stuff, the thinking skills, the strategy skills, and how you present that, those are way more valuable skills. And those are the things, just from looking at this portfolio, I feel like would step that, show how much more valuable his work is.
Yeah. Let's look at one more, and we'll just do the first one, this brand design stylescapes, and see what his most recent stuff looks like.
Brand design.
All right, so it looks like we've got some logos with a P at the top in different forms. Looks pretty good.
Oh, this is just basically an amalgamation of all of his brandings.
Yeah,
I really like that. Go ahead.
I was about to say, maybe you're going to say the same thing. I absolutely love the star in a jar logo. The second one.
Yeah.
I think this one is absolutely beautiful, especially when it's on this bag here. I think this looks absolutely amazing. I love the colors. Yeah. I love the shadow. I love the little in the middle. This is something that I would want to see a full case study on. And I don't think he has it. Let me just double check. It doesn't look like he does. At least not on this Behance profile. But I would want to see. Oh, he does. Was that?
He does. He does.
Does he? Where?
It's called Book of Standards. It's all the way on the top right of his profile.
Oh, okay. Oh, he does. Okay. See, here's another bit of feedback, right? I'm looking at this Book of Standards icon, the thumbnail, and it's not doing anything for me. Like, I'm not emotionally attached to this thumbnail. It just looks like a star with some text in it. Whereas when I saw this star in a jar bag, immediately I said, whoa, I want to know more information about this. So Marco, if you are watching, maybe update this Star of Standards thumbnail for this Behance project with that one, maybe even this, right? Or let's see if we scroll down, if he has that bag. See, this is getting nice. This is really starting to get in depth of the process of this particular project, like what kind of testing you did to get to the final result, and the colors and the design system. This is kind of how you should follow for the rest of your projects. This is something that's going to drive people to potentially make an offer to hire you.
Yeah. I love everything from, page 17, everything from 17 down. Like, if he just had his brand guidelines at the top, and then those like in context, logo in context with like the different articles of clothing.
Yep.
all types of on the building. That stuff is really powerful. Like halfway through, I was just like, oh wow, like this I probably would see in the pitch deck. Everything else, that one slide of just branding guidelines, that could take up maybe a page or so.
Yeah.
But these other things are this is enticing. This is what I want to see.
I agree. All right. Great job, Marco. Hopefully you're watching and you apply some of that feedback. Let's go ahead and hop over to Marvin's profile. And if anyone did not get their profile reviewed today, we're definitely going to do more in future streams. And tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at some daily creative challenge entries. So we've got Marvin from Kenya. He is a UX designer at Equity Bank. One thing I would say for the profile is I always love learning about people who are designers, or anybody really. So put a little bit of a blurb, and Marco did a great job on his profile. Put a little blurb down here. I know you have like an about me section, but let us know what you do for a living, who you've previously worked for, what your focus is. Are you a brand designer, UX? I know you have UX designer at the top, but build that out a little bit, just so people, when they land on your profile, they know exactly what they're looking at.
Exactly.
What do you want to start with?
I want to kind of start with that first one, top left, tie-dye.
All right.
Hopefully I'm saying that correctly,
Yeah.
but we're going to get into a good one today.
That header image definitely makes a good first impression.
Yes, I know exactly what I'm about to get into about the app. Immediately, I'm not going to say above the fold because I might get somebody's, but it gives us a little bit of information on like what type of mobile application this is.
Yep.
I get context exactly with the imagery on the right. Whew, this is about to put some sweat on my brow, Howard. I like this.
We've got some icon design with those circles.
Yeah. Got the typography and colors. Montserrat. So this is like with the other project we were just looking at. Page 1 about the app or about the company. In all the branding stuff, the logo, the mark, colors,
yep,
typography, boom, page 1 done. All right, let's get into the wireframes. Like that is amazing presentation.
Yeah, my only bit of feedback, and just because Marvin is definitely putting together fantastic case studies, I want to make sure to give him some sort of feedback, is looking at these high fidelity designs. They're very striking. They've got great color. But thinking about the experience on mobile, which I'm assuming this is designed for, if you take a look at the text, especially on the very far right screen, it looks very, very small. And those buttons look a little bit small as well. So whenever you're designing for mobile, these screens, even though they're getting a little bit larger and larger, you've got to make the text legible. It's got to be a little bit larger, right? Those buttons have to be anywhere, somewhere around the 45 pixel either width or height, depending on what you're designing, so that people can very easily tap on it and not mistakenly tap on something else or miss it. So just below that, some of that stuff up, just so that anybody who's using this application, especially some of the elderly who might have hard time reading, they need to be able to see all this information.
Especially people like us, or me rather. I have fat thumb syndrome.
There you go.
Yes. But very nice work. I'm enjoying this.
I'm going to go ahead and open up. Let's just go through them. I'm going to open up the second one, this Open Raise profile.
All right.
Profile for a company that offers telecom and IT solutions. All right. All right. I'm assuming this is like a brand exercise, possibly.
Maybe brochure, something like that. Let's see. Here's a company profile for a company that offers telecom.
And this is where more information could definitely help. We know that your client was Open Raise Limited, and it's for a telecom and IT solutions. But I would love to know what exactly your role in this is. What did you design the logo? Did you design the entire brochure? Did you just focus on the UX experience of this thing? So any more information would be great. But design-wise, what are your thoughts, Brandon?
Design-wise is pretty good. I love the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Love the spread of this. The inside, I feel like the inside is a little muddy. We have orange on brown. I've liked how he had orange on white. This stood out a lot to me. I feel like this may be a little bit too saturated, but I do like the contrast of the orange and blue. But this is a way better execution than the orange on brown.
Right.
And I feel like if you have the consistency of how you're laying things out here, things will do a lot better here. And let's see.
Nice. All right, let's take a look at one more. Which one stands out to you?
Where we going to dive in? Okay. I am fighting between Stake or Streak Media and Skybeam. Let's go into Streak Media branding. It's the bottom. It's the last one.
All right. Oh, okay.
Actually, this is a pretty simple one. Let's peek at the other one, and then I will decide. I'm gonna pop into Skybeam really quick.
Okay.
Take a look at this. I kind of dig Skybeam.
All right.
They're pretty much the same as logo mark and how they're applying to business cards and other things. So Skybeam, I really like I don't know what it is today. Maybe it's just me, but or maybe it's just in general. I love a very like limited color palette because I feel like it makes it pop.
Yeah.
I feel like this is really strong compared to, I feel like there's a lot happening here. Skybeam, Enterprise, LTD. I don't know. I feel like this is, even though it's like, okay, white, gray, and then this is kind of the same thing. I just feel like there's a lot happening. The beam is grabbing my attention. So is this paper airplane.
Mm-hmm.
I see sky last, but in this is kind of the reverse. I see sky first, and then I see beam. But I definitely this paper airplane seems to have more of a significance in this situation than it did here.
Right. That's interesting feedback.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the business card? First glance, it looks super clean. I think the the two colors, the blue and the yellow, work quite a bit.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
To me, it actually looks fine here. I don't know what the difference. Maybe it's just because I'm seeing these two at once, or seeing all three of these once, that is throwing my eyes off. But here, it looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. But what are your thoughts? Just so I can have a bouncing ball, because
I think it works in any situation. If you scroll down, you can also see the kind of like the black and white, the monotone Skybeam logo on the business cards. I think that works as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm digging it. Yasser in the chat, it actually brings up an interesting point. On his profile, he lists himself as a UX designer, but so far we haven't really seen much user experience case studies, which is interesting. So if you are a UX designer, I would love to see more of that, like their process of getting, and the first one kind of had it a little bit, but for the most part, a lot of this is UI design, graphic design, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I loved his
hop
first.
over very quickly. We're going to go back to your screen. Let me just bring this window out of the way. Whoops. Yep. There we go. I'm going to make your screen a little bit larger.
All right.
Yeah, so we have about a minute left. So quickly go through, very quickly, what we've accomplished, or what you've accomplished. I've done nothing. What you've accomplished today.
So guys, we have accomplished creating some very sexy prototypes here, or really just two screens. But we've created some components here. We've animated some of our buttons, some pretty cool, created some cool components here with some pretty nice interaction, search bar. But basically, we made some pretty cool stuff today in just a matter of really an hour and a half, but 2 hours. But our main goal here today was to make something that I absolutely was inspired by. Again, I don't know how to say his last name, but Anton. He does a lot of really great stuff here on Dribbble, and he works for a great company, UI8. But it took us an hour and a half to recreate something that is pretty complicated. So that's how powerful Adobe XD is, and I'm happy with it. We did have a couple hiccups here and there.
That's expected.
Yeah, but I feel pretty good. We have our title here coming in and out. I'm not sure if you guys saw that at the end while me and Howard were talking. And, but, animating, like the more you pull things away from where they're going to animate to. So these Chanel and basically this title, I pulled one further out. Like I pulled one out here and the other one a little bit closer so that when we actually switch this, you'll see when we switch back, one will come in a little bit faster than the other. It's very slight.
Yeah.
It also has a bounce to it. But the further you pull things away from where you want them to land in the animation, um, the slower or the faster they get to something. So
Indeed. Great stuff. So I'm going to hop back over to us and we're going to wrap things up. So we have Andrea Hawk coming up in just a few minutes with the XD Daily Creative Challenge. Definitely stick around for that, especially if you want to learn more about Adobe XD and the world of UI and UX. Big thanks to Brandon for joining me today. He's going to be back tomorrow with some more goodness. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll be reviewing some of those daily XD challenges. Any parting words, Brandon?
no, guys, I'm super appreciative of you guys sticking around. I'm super excited about what we did today and what we're going to get into tomorrow. We have a super complicated one for tomorrow. So be sure to come around and join us then.
Sweet. Sounds good. We'll see you all later.
All right. Peace, guys.
All right. We should be off, I think. Who knows? They might still hear us. Oh, I can imagine. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, no.